Welcome back to PandaPenClub. Today, I'd like to review the PenBBS 500. Now, the first thing you see when you feast your eyes on this pen is the acrylic. A lot of gorgeous PenBBS acrylic. And when I say a lot, I mean a lot. It is 143 millimeters capped. It is 131 millimeters uncapped. I had my eye on this particular color scheme for quite some time. From casual glances, I always thought of it as rainbow for some reason, but on closer inspection, you will discover it is named Qiu-ri, which means autumn sunshine, or autumn sunlight, or autumn sun, which is a gorgeous, evocative name for a chatoyant, translucent, transparent, gorgeous color scheme. The character Qiu is really interesting to me because it tallies with my own experiences of autumn in China. So you can see here, Qiu is comprised of two elements. He, which means grain or millet, and huo, which means fire. Now, first couple of years I was in China, in Nanjing. In autumn, maybe a week in autumn, the sky would always go this funny purplish colour, at least in my memory. And there would be this smoke smell in the air. And it wasn't industrial pollutant-y smoke, it was vegetation burning. And it was the farmers burning off the crop stubble from the previous season's harvest. And it would create this marvellous smoke and odour in the sky. So fire, grain. For me, that's autumn in China. It corresponds with the name of this marvellously coloured acrylic. However, the first thing you think of in China when you hear the word autumn or fall, if you're in the United States, not smoke or fire or millet, but holiday. Zhongqiu Jie, Mid-Autumn Festival. This festival falls on the 15th day of the 8th lunar month, measured according to the traditional Chinese calendar, or Nongli, which means agricultural calendar. This is a lunisolar calendar, which means it is a lunar calendar with embolic insertions of leap days and leap months to bring it into line with Gregorian solarish calendar. Now, Mid-Autumn Festival first emerged in China during the Shang dynasty, and it was associated with a dragon to whom people would give thanks, because this wasn't a fire-breathing dragon, this was a dragon that brought rain to help produce the crops. Later in the Zhou dynasty, it is recorded in various rituals. In the Tang dynasty, it is recorded gaining even wider enthusiasm, spreading out from the emperor to the upper classes. In the Song dynasty, it was officially recognized as a festival and was therefore celebrated throughout all levels of society. The second thing that you notice with this pen is the substantial chrome furniture. We have either finial, we have the clip itself, we have a very wide cap band, and we have a sort of interior section band, as well as the filling mechanism, all of which are made out of this chrome material. And it all adds to the chunky, substantial feel of this pen. The cap band is very, very wide, or perhaps tall, even incorporating a little step of its own to bring the girth of the cap closer to the girth of the shaft. And the engravings are slightly odd. PenBBS is written in vast tall letters, and 500 is written in slightly subtler letters on the other side. Posting with this pen is not advisable, although it's technically possible. You can sort of squeeze it on there. What you get is this extraordinary long object, which is hugely unbalanced. The pen is slightly back-weighted as it is because of the weight of the filling mechanism, which I'll get on to later. Festivals these days are an extremely important part of life in China, not least because China possesses much more onerous employment laws than people in many Western countries may be used to. Now, these include a one-day weekend, which is not ubiquitous, but it certainly is in many large companies. My own business in China employs 14 people, and we have a two-day weekend, but I know many people who operate on a one-day weekend principle. There's also much less annual leave. Therefore, statutory holidays are extremely important, and there are 7 official public holidays in China. But National Day often falls very close to Mid-Autumn Festival, creating a sort of mega holiday. I particularly like the clip on this pen. It's got a really nice chunky build quality to it. It's substantial. There's no concavity underneath. You can see where it's stapled and screwed together if you peer down the behind of it, which makes it feel very tough, very strong. I just completed a 5,500 mile journey with this thing clipped to my jacket most of the way, and it's still here. Hello. So I can promise you it's a tough, secure clip that would pass the upside down test. Now, travel is a big feature of the Autumn Festival. People are spread around this continent-sized country far away from their families. The largest human migrations in the world, 100 million journeys during the Mid-Autumn Festival. These journeys, well, they're concentrated in a diamond pattern around the cities of Beijing, Shanghai, Xi'an, and Guangzhou. And it all gets pretty complicated, in fact, because these holidays are calculated according to the lunar calendar. The precise days change every year. You have half the country hurtling around and half the ruddy shops closing. So it's a complicated time. This pen is not dissimilarly complicated at times. The filling system, which I'll get to shortly, is quite complicated. I don't mean complicated in a bad way there, but it certainly requires a little introductory chit-chat from PenBBS. I would also say that the section is quite complicated with this pen. Now, how do you make a section complicated? Well, firstly, you have a fairly genuine step down, but nicely softened edged step down from the shaft. Then you have a relatively smooth patch, followed by the threads. This pen closes in 2 and a bit turns. You then have the interior section band, which I mentioned before. And on this section band, you have the word Shanghai in capital letters and the words made in China in curiously all lowercase lettering. We then have a further step down to a longer stretch of section, and then we have a little finger stop at the end of the section to stop your little fingers creeping onto the nib and getting stained, although it doesn't seem to have entirely prevented that with me. The section does also unscrew, and there is an O-ring inside for your peace of mind to stop leakage. Now, strange lettering choices aside, I rather like the idea of having an interior section band like this with a secret little message on it, otherwise hidden by the cap. And this brings me to another traditional feature of the Mid-Autumn Festival, which is mooncakes. They are a tradition that has become heavily synonymous with the Mid-Autumn Festival. This aspect of the festival first emerged during the Yuan dynasty, which was ruled by the Mongols. It began with the famous pleasure-drome-orientated Kubla Khan. And during this dynasty, rebellion by the now dominant Han Chinese was fomented through the medium of mooncakes. Now, a version of the story goes that 1 in 10 Han families was permitted to possess knives to prevent rebellion. Therefore, anyone who had rebellion in mind needed to coordinate between Han Chinese families in order to stockpile enough knives, arranged via messages sent in mooncakes, or sometimes imprinted on the top of a set of mooncakes, which then needed to be rearranged in order to decipher a message. Now, mooncakes are quite odd little treats. They are large, substantial. They look a little bit like a British Melton Mowbray pork pie, but larger than your average pork pie. Fillings include crushed melon seeds, roast pork, red bean paste, lotus seed paste, one of the more glamorous fillings, and more contemporary fillings such as chocolate and ice cream, and custard. But although this festival has been appropriated somewhat as a commercial exploitation opportunity and has been beamingly embraced by various brands, its origins, a little bit like Easter, say, can be discerned buried inside all the commercial stuff. It's been intimately associated with the goddess Chang'e, who, it was believed, swallowed an immortality elixir and, distressed that she couldn't be with her husband for various reasons, went to live on the moon because that was the closest place she could still observe her husband. And she was accompanied by a jade rabbit. And these two, this motley pair, have been honoured in the form of China's various lunar probes in recent years. And they were even acknowledged by NASA astronauts during the Apollo program. The big headline innovation aspect, the technology of this pen, I suppose, comes via the filling system, which operates on a rather unique, rather tactile basis. You can see here we have this flat coin-like thing at the top, which you unscrew by applying pressure with your thumb in this rather cool, airy gesture, releasing the plunger or rod. You then screw in the other direction and you secure the rod. You would then put inside the bottle press down the plunger, let it release back upwards. It's on a spring mechanism, which you can just make out through the transparencies in the acrylic, thus filling the pen with ink. You then unscrew, let the rod drop back down, and then in the opposite direction, replace your little coin flush with the end of the shaft. And I like that this pen comes with a dedicated instruction card, both in English and Chinese. Purpose-driven set of instructions rather than some glossy manual waxing lyrical about all the branding aspirations of this manufacturer. One thing I would add that isn't covered in this laudable little cardette is the fact that when I first got this pen, the plunger mechanism, the rod, was for some reason rather stiff, and it required a bit of force to get it loose before I could actually go about filling the pen. So that can be a little confusing. If you encounter this, don't worry, you just need to, away from your ink bottle ideally, apply a bit more pressure to unseize your plunger rod and therefore enable you to fill the pen. And it's a one-off thing, as far as I can tell. It's only happened the one time. Gorgeous, gorgeous pen, which certainly evokes the colours of autumn and for me is very, very beautiful. I like the substantial size of it. I like the furniture. I like the chunkiness. I'm a little nonplussed by some of the lettering choices, but that aside, I really, really enjoy the look and feel of this pen. So now on to the writing experience. This is a fine nib steel, and the sort of steel that does not encourage you to even think about flexing. It is nonetheless a very nice nib to write with. I'm writing with Pilot Irotsuku Yamaguri ink in honor of Nanjing autumnal skies. It's that lovely brownish purple. And the paper is Clairefontaine. Now, the first thing I suppose, I mentioned the pen is a little back-weighted, and you can really feel in an extraordinarily subtle, almost have to look for it sort of way. A little bit of that back weighting there. It has no impact for me whatsoever on the pleasure or displeasure involved in writing with this dear pen. I think the writing is very important. I'm not particularly fussed by the innovations of the filling system. I think they're good, I think they're interesting, I think they're fun, but I'm not wildly taken with innovative filling systems. As long as it works, I'm pretty happy. And this one works, so tick in the box. At RMB 238, aka British pounds 26.57 or United States dollars 33.65, you do want more bang for your buck than just the fascinations of an intriguing filling mechanism. I would say this pen delivers. Firstly, as you've probably gathered, I'm extremely taken with the beautiful color scheme and the fantastic PenBBS acrylic. This is a pen I enjoy just having and looking at and of course using, and that's augmented naturally by the fact the nib works very well. It's fine. Personally, I think I prefer PenBBS's medium. It's got a little catch to it, as PenBBS nibs seem to do. When I say catch, I mean feedback. I don't mean something erroneous. Decipher that if you can. For a fine nib, it's not dry, I would say. It's got a decent amount of ink coming through there, even quite quick. Decent amount of ink and sustained. Smooth, glossy ink flow. Very enjoyable. Lovely. Panda. Seeks. Jinxed. Zebra. For quick game of whist. A lovely pen to write with, a lovely pen to use. I like larger pens. I love this acrylic. So this pen gets a thumbs up, a wholehearted thumbs up from me. I may even need to get one or two more, possibly with a medium nib.
Among the large headlines concerning Apollo this morning is one asking that you watch for a lovely girl with a big rabbit. An ancient legend says a beautiful Chinese girl called Chang'o has been living there for 4,000 years. You might also look for her companion, a large Chinese rabbit, who is easy to spot since he is always standing on his hind feet in the shade of its cinnamon tree. Okay, we'll keep a close eye for the bunny girl.
If you've enjoyed watching this video, please don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. And when you click subscribe, please also click the bell. It really helps us. Thank you so much for watching, and see you next time.